What's up? What's up, everybody? I'm gonna do a little different video today. I'll probably do a crypto market update, or at least what I see happening in the crypto markets, sometime later on. But for right now, I just wanted to cover a topic that I've been looking into quite a bit lately, and it's about China's social score system. Basically, it's a social credit system, they say. What it is the communist Chinese have set up a bio-identification system where it's almost like Minority Report, where no matter where you go, they have facial recognition, they have other bio-identification markers that tie you to your identity and all your personal information. And basically, the government can follow you wherever you go and know what you're doing. And on top of that, there's no privacy because they share it with the rest of society. So society can then identify who you are and give a rating of your behaviors so that they can either prevent you from taking place in commerce, or they can give you special incentives in society. So it's a social credit system. It's a rating system. They call it credit, but it can also be a debit system. Basically, they can take from you. And I find it interesting that the way communists think is really backwards, When it comes to religion and Christianity in particular, and the way the United States is formed, and the reason I'm covering this is because the United States and China are currently trying to nail out a trade agreement. And there are two very basically different philosophies out there. A lot of the leftists don't like this fact, but the United States was founded on Judeo-Christian principles, the religious principles of there is only one God. He is the creator of all, both visible and invisible. And at least from the Christian perspective, he sent his only begotten Son down to earth in the form of a human being so that he could pay the debt for all of our sins so that we wouldn't have to go through capital punishment. He went through it for us because in scriptures it says the wage of sin is death. Well, we're starting to see that to be the case because in China, the social credit system is actually killing your ability to take place in society. That's no different than death, right? They cut you off from commerce. I mean, this is what the Christian Bible in Revelations talks about, where you get the mark of the beast number and you can be cut off from commerce. They can shut you off. And that's basically what's happening here. And so the leftist communists are really screwy. They would much rather than you have free will, they would much rather have everybody else determine the outcome of your life, which I find phenomenal. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Because from a Christian perspective, we have an all-knowing, all-seeing God who lives in heaven. And heaven is everywhere, right? His kingdom is everywhere, and he is everywhere. He is not limited. There's no way to really describe God because he is all-powerful, all-knowing, omniscient, omnipresent. And with this understanding, you as a Christian can go in your life and choose heaven or hell based upon this knowledge that God is watching you, right? And judging you. He is the final judge. He is the knower and seer of all. And you have this great chance that he doesn't even exist. That God is a formulated philosophy to keep people good, right? But this philosophy that is great is that you have free will, right? You can choose what you want to do in life. And if you make a mistake, there is forgiveness. There's a chance to redeem yourself, right? communists don't like this concept of God. They want to do away with God and do away with religion and Christianity because it requires you to be self-disciplined. But then what do? They go and they form this social credit system that basically mimics God by being all-seeing, in that all the cameras are everywhere. They're on your phones, they're on ATMs, they're on street corners, they're on businesses. We have them on our homes here in the United States. It's called the Ring. We also have a system called Alexa that can hear everything we're talking about, and we basically we tell it everything about ourselves. It does vocal recognition. When we call into the banks, they have us say yes if you would like us to read your balance. Say no if you would like to hear something else. Or if you'd like to speak with a representative, please say representative now, right? So the algorithm that you're talking to on the phone is actually doing a bioscan of your voice. And it's possibly when you're on the phone, they're even doing it right now. So the communist globalists have made it so that technology is the new God, but yet the authority of God is given to people to control it. And from what it seems like, there is very little forgiveness, right? You're going to get your bank account shut off. You want to go for a home loan. If you make a mistake, you get denied credit. So it really limits your possibilities. Whereas God allows you to live freely for the rest of your life, no matter what you do, until you die. That is the deal with God, right? The deal is you have free will. You can choose heaven or hell, and you can go throughout your entire life performing actions and making choices that lead you to hell, but you won't know it until you die. So you can still function. If your kids are dependent on you, you can still make a living and pay for your kids. But see, with this social credit system, you can no longer feed your family or care for them because now you're taken out of the loop. They cut you off, and they prevent you from having any opportunity in life just because you make mistakes. Let's say you come home late from a party, you're drunk, and you get into a car accident. You don't kill anybody, but you came close to it. But a whole bunch of people witnessed it, and they immediately point their phones at your face, and your face is not damaged too badly from the car accident. So the algorithm recognizes you, and then it identifies you, and now up comes the little rating system, and they start to put thumbs down on you, almost like Facebook or Instagram. They like it or dislike it. But then it goes right to your personal information, and now it dings your bank account. It dings, your health care, your insurance premiums. It dings all these things. So not only does this system affect you, if you got a family, it affects your family. If you've got properties and you've got people living in those properties and you're renting to them, but you haven't paid off your properties yet, you're using the rent to kind of finance your purchase of this property, that could be affected because now the interest rate could go up, and now you could be paying more, and you could potentially lose those properties, and those people could potentially lose their homes because if a new owner comes in and buys that property off of you or acquires that property, they may want to evict all of the tenants, or they may want to raise the rent on them. So this social credit system doesn't just affect you, it affects the social aspect, the society as well. And a lot of the Chinese currently think it's okay because they're used to living in this authoritarian, limited freedom culture. I have a friend who's from Australia, but he originates from China, and we'd had a lot of discussions about how it is to be in China, and he was really positive about China until I started presenting to him some of the opportunities we have here in the United States and whether that's not or is available in China. And he started to slowly wake up. I basically red-pilled him to the fact that China is a slave-driving, authoritarian, controlling country, and you really don't have freedom of thought, expression, or movement until you wake up to that fact. And a lot of times when you wake up to that fact, people try to get out, So So he was really severely red-pilled. So I just want you guys to think about that, because this is a big topic that's coming up in the future with President Trump unveiling 5G. A lot of people don't like 5G because it has potential to cause cancer to people. But I've been learning that there are multiple forms of 5G, and you most likely are considering the high frequency 5G that only is short distances. So yeah, if you have an antenna or a infrastructure for 5G over your house, yeah, you'll probably get cancer. But the long distance 5G infrastructure requires low frequency uh, uh, waves in order to propagate information. And currently the military uses that. You don't hear about military guys getting cancer, all of them. So I think that President Trump is rolling out the 5G to compete with China, but he's doing it with the low frequency waves version, and a lot of people are against that. But with that comes the potential for these social credit systems, and we really need to discuss this as a free nation. If we want to keep our freedoms, do you want your neighbors to vote on your outcomes? And the other thing about that is undermining democracy. What democracy is about is protection, not democracy, a specific form of democracy, our republic. Democracy overall is bad because when you get majority rule or the popular vote, they can vote against you as a minority and you are done. So, I mean, imagine if Nazis were running the United States and we became a democracy. But Nazis were the largest population in the United States, and they don't like you. Unless you're a white person watching this and you're a Nazi. You're free to watch this channel, and you're free to make comments. I do not censor people unless you get super annoying to the point where I can't even do anything on the channel anymore. Then I'll block you. But I try not to censor people because I believe in freedom of speech, and I believe everyone has a right to speak. But if you're a minority in this country and you're affected by what you believe to be racism, would you want that? Would you want the majority of Nazi people being able to vote how you should be able to live your life? Well, but that's democracy. See, democracy is mob rule. The mob, or the greater number, the populace, can vote against your self-interest. And that's what happened in the South. They were functioning as a democracy, while the Ku Klux Klan, which was an organization formed by the Democratic Party, votes you out. Now, don't let the Democrats say that they switched to the Republican side, because the KKK has always been a Democratic organization, right? And Democrats are about democracy. They want the popular vote. You even heard it with Hillary Clinton. Oh, she got the popular vote. That's why she should have won. Well, if that were the case, then California and New York would have voted for Hillary Clinton for president, and the rest of the states who didn't want her would have been forced to have her as the president, even though majority of their people may have voted for President Trump. Sorry, I got a little hair here in the way. Whatever, President Trump or another candidate to go against her, they would have been forced to have Hillary Clinton based upon the votes of the majority populaces in California and New York. But that's not how it works. We are a constitutional republic, a specific form of representative democracy where laws limit the government and everything is pro rata, meaning like if you have California voting against Rhode Island, California gets a pro rata share of electoral college delegates who determine the president, and they don't give California any unfair advantage over Rhode Island just because of the size of the state and the amount of people that it can hold. Rhode Island may have one delegate. California may have two. Even though California is like 50 times the size of Rhode Island, of course these numbers are not accurate, but they're just examples. California has still a proportionate representation of the voting electorate, so that we have a more fair, more equitable union, and it's not, Rhode Island is not disenfranchised. The minority is not disenfranchised. So really, if you're a Democrat, you really need to reconsider if you like freedom or if you like mob rule, because mob rule can end very badly for you if you're on the wrong side of that vote, which basically limits your life and your choices. You have to choose what the majority chooses in order to maintain in good standing. And that's exactly what's going on with the communism and the social credit system. In order to maintain a good life, you have to maintain your behaviors and beliefs in accordance with the population who's voting, whether to give you a high credit standing in the society or a low credit standing in the society. This is by default or by sneaky means bringing in democracy and undermining the republic. So as a republic and as a Republican, I am firmly against social credit systems. I believe the concept is great. It's wonderful to hold people accountable and to bring discipline into society, and we need that. But that's something that God can do. And that's something that the family also provides, because not only are you accountable to God if you're a Christian, you're also accountable to your family, right? And to your friends, and even to your enemies. Your choices affect them. We used to have a time when you wouldn't do something wrong because you wouldn't want to embarrass the name of your parents because they raised you. You also wouldn't do something wrong because you don't want your kids to look at you like you're a loser. They want to look up to you. That you'd want to be some role model for them. We're in a society now where people don't even hold that in regard anymore. They don't have any love for their parents and their family name. They don't even have a love for children. That's why they want to abort them. People don't have any marriage concepts anymore, so people don't want to stay together. They just want to, have sex and move on. But that's not what marriage is about. And they don't even have any commitment to themselves, where they can't even decide what gender they are. They're trying to create new genders. But then when you argue with a leftist, it's either male or female with them. They never bring up the fact that there's a gray area gender. They only, if you're a woman, they'll defend you against the male. They don't talk about the transgender or the, all these other artificial concepts that they come up with to create disarray and disjunction and disjointedness and basically chaos in our culture, so that they can tear it down and create a communism, because they like to be told what to do and they don't want to be responsible. They don't have the self-control to be responsible for themselves, so they're always looking for someone to be their parent. This is why Christianity doesn't work for them, because Christianity requires you to be responsible in order to get to heaven. God does not do anything to you. You do it to yourself. He just makes the arrangements for you. You basically have the agreement. You have these covenants that if you do good, he's always behind you. He stands behind you. He helps you. He pushes you forward. Like I'm experiencing, he's subtly telling me that he's helping me, and I am very grateful for it. I believe in God. I don't see him, but I believe that he's there. Just like I believe that I am alive versus a rock. A rock can't sit there and do logical calculations or have discussions with me. It just sits there. It is not alive. I'm alive as God is alive. So I have the breath of God in me. So I believe in God, even though even though I don't see him, and I believe that I am alive as well. So as a being, I exist. As a being, he exists. Just he has no body. So this is the difficulty with a lot of the leftists. They only believe what can be proved. This is why you have arguments with them. They want to see evidence. Always. They cannot believe, they cannot extrapolate, they cannot see abstract concepts without evidence. And this is how most of the leftist parties, like the Democrats and the communists, can control leftists, because all you have to do is show them evidence, show them it came from a reputable source like the government, and they'll believe it. It doesn't mean it's accurate, doesn't mean it's even true. But because it came from that source, they'll believe it. So this is what we deal with leftists. I don't know how people get that way. I don't know how they stay that way. Even when you present them with evidence, they're brainwashed and they want to stay brainwashed. They like it that way. They say ignorance is bliss. I don't know how ignorance can be bliss when you're constantly suffering as a result of your belief system, and you want other people to be miserable just like you, just because you can make one simple choice and dramatically affect your life and change it where you can be successful. It just takes one step, and they're not willing to take that step. And I'm definitely not willing to take that step towards them because I already know the results of their choices. Throughout history, it's been shown what the results of those choices have been. And even in common times, we don't even have to look into history. We can look at the current nations that subscribe to communism and socialism. What's happening to them? They all fall apart. The people suffer. They starve to death. The old people die because they don't have the energy to go out and work for money if the money is still valuable in that country, which most likely it won't, because socialism just gives away everything to society. So the value of the money is given away and it goes into the toilet. And so old people can't even buy food or pay their bills with the money they have earned and saved up because somebody else gave it away. It was redistributed. The wealth was redistributed in communism. And so we're seeing that with Bitcoin and all that stuff, but I'm going to save that for another video. But anyway, this is already 20 minutes. I only wanted to make a 5-minute video, but I'm just so anti-communist, so anti-socialist. I'm not completely anti-socialist. There's some socialist ideals that I believe can fit in society. In fact, the United States was often a mixed society. It was mixed, somewhat socialist, somewhat capitalist. It wasn't pure capitalist. And I think that it worked out well because like our philanthropy, our charity comes from the socialist perspective. Like we don't have to give our money away to the poor, but because we care about our country and we care about human beings in general, we donate money to care for them, to make sure people are fed and sheltered and clothed. That's socialism I'm okay with, but that's socialism by choice, and it's not recurring unless you have the means to make it recurring. If I want to give someone lunch one time, I can do that and I can feel good about it. But I don't have to do it because I have my own family that I need to feed, and I would prefer to take care of the problems of my own family and make sure my own kids are not starving before I look at some stranger and make sure they're not starving. My kids are more important. Once they are fed and they are nourished, and because they can't feed themselves, they're kids. They could probably, if I taught them how to do that. I don't know the capabilities of my 3-year-old to feed himself. But the laws don't even allow him to work because that would be child slave labor if it were that case. So my child is dependent upon me to feed him, and my daughter is dependent on me to feed her. That homeless person is purely capable of working and earning money just like I am. They just don't know how, or they have mental problems that need to be addressed, and someone needs to address it eventually, but I just can't do it at that moment. But at the moment that I decide I can give you a lunch, I'll do it and I'll feel good about it. And that's socialism or communism even. And I'm okay with it, but it's not permanent. And that's the way our culture should be. Socialism and communism should be a choice, one of the freedoms of capitalism, and it should be according to your means, and not forced redistribution of wealth. Like, okay, illegal immigrant comes to this nation, their choice to come break our laws in order to have a better life here, that's fine. I'm okay, you want to make those kinds of choices, but I shouldn't have to pay for you to be successful here. I am a citizen here, and if I were to move to your country, I would respect the laws of your country. I would apply for citizenship there, and I would do what it takes to be successful there. In fact, Guatemala, I hear, is becoming vacant because everybody's coming here to the United States. I'm very tempted to move to Guatemala because Guatemala will be what I make it. it's not dependent upon my surroundings there. The people voted for the government that impoverished them. And so it's their fault. So they think they can move somewhere and it's going to be better? No, they'll just do the same thing here when they move. They will vote for the same kind of bullshit that will impoverish them here, and it'll impoverish the rest of us as well, because we're living here and we're forced to deal with it as well. So this is what and that's also happening with citizens who are very socialist leftist. They fucked up, excuse me my French, but honestly, they fucked up California with their stupid leftism, and the economy's all screwed up. And I just read articles that Gavin Newsom and the Democrats are trying to do. They're going to put a task force out to find out why homelessness exists. You dummies, it's because of you. You've impoverished people. They can't afford to live in their homes. They can't afford to move. So what do? They go live out in the streets. You need a task force for that? You need to spend more of our money and impoverish more of us in order to figure that out, right? But anyway, the people who vote for that don't like that the economy is going downhill. They don't have jobs, so they take what little they have left and they move to a conservative state like Texas or Colorado, where there are more jobs and more employment and more money for people. And what do? Then they vote in new Gavin Newsoms in those states, and they fuck up those economies too. I'm sorry. Pisses me off so bad that I swear. And I'll go confess that to God later. But I'm just so frustrated with these people, how stupid people are, that, rather than have God watching you and guiding you and helping you, they would choose to have government do it. Government is just people, just like you, and you're going to have people over people. People are faulty and messed up, and you're okay with having people over you where they can be corrupted and they can start to take control over everything. Man, you are really, really screwed up if you think that's the better choice. But anyway, all right, I'm going to cut it right here. If you like my stuff, please hit that thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that the next time I put a video up, you'll know and you can come check it out. And most importantly, always the most important thing, sharing is caring. So if you know someone who you talked with, they're like, hey, I just talked with someone about that whole concept, and you think they can benefit from this discussion and my video, go ahead and share my video with them. Let them know that I'm out there. Help support me so that I can get this philosophy out. Because honestly, it's not about the money. YouTube's already demonetized me. I was growing in viewership on YouTube, and that stopped. So honestly, I don't think the algorithm even takes notice of me. And who knows, I may even lose my channel in the future. I don't care. Just the ideas are the most important, because to me, I want liberty in this country and in this state of California. And Thomas Jefferson said the best way to secure the blessings of liberty is to educate the population. If you educate the population, they will help you. You will strengthen in numbers to secure the blessings of liberty. And they will be vigilant always, because they will be intelligent. Intelligent people are always watching, and they know when someone is trying to scam them. So they will fight to maintain liberty. Eternal vigilance is the cost of freedom. Both statements were from Thomas Jefferson, and I believe that those are very important statements. They are very true. That freedom requires eternal vigilance, and that educated people will ensure that freedom remains. All right, y'all. I love you. Peace to the next one. On to the next one. Take care.